Hello, welcome to the first episode of Gear There and Everywhere, a podcast about starring and for Beatles enthusiasts. We know a lot about Beatles guitars. We're called Gear There and Everywhere, making each day of the year. Both of us thinking how good it could be. It's going to be a great podcast. So we're going to talk about Beatles rare guitars, not so rare guitars, what's used on each song, what amps are used, all this stuff that no normal person should actually care about too much. But so we'll go around the room and introduce ourselves. I'll leave you guys to Paul next.
Well, hello everybody, my name is Paul. I'm from Guitar Gear Connection. I've been playing guitar on and off for about 20 years now. I do have a vast selection of Beatles gear and memorabilia, so definitely check out my channel. That's about it. So go back over to Sam.
Hi, I'm Sam. I'm another YouTube Beatles dude among these other greats, and my gear collection is ever growing. And I'm happy to be here with my friends Paul, Ryan, and Dom.
I am Ryan. I am the man with no expression. Know quite a bit about Beatles stuff. Also know some Hollies and Birds stuff. But also have a ever-growing Beatles guitar collection and too much Beatles knowledge collection. But I think it'll be a great time with these guys. So I'll pass it to Dom.
Well, the man with no expression has an expression, finally. I'm Dom. I have a YouTube channel as well. It's called Drossi, D-R-O-S-S-I. And I've been playing guitar since I was about 9 years old. I'm, like these guys, an absolute geek to the point where no one should be a geek. It's excessive, but that's fine. I'm really excited to start doing this. It's a fun opportunity to geek out about this stuff. And that's that.
Alrighty. Well,
welcome everybody.
Thanks for having us on our own podcast.
Yes.
Hope you guys enjoy it. We're also going to set up, just to get these things out of the way, you should subscribe and all that jazz. But there's also, we're going to have an Instagram, so you can go check that out. Got the YouTube. Maybe we'll stick this on some like Apple Podcasts or something as well. Who knows? We'll put that in the description if we're doing it. So today, I believe, if we've got all those things out of the way, you may have noticed a bunch of us have Rick 12 strings out. So today we're going to talk about a different Rick 12 string, John's Rickenbacker 325-12, which seems to be causing quite a stir and some confusion among some people. And some people like to just cite it in articles and then just say it was on some random song without any evidence to back that. So we're going to try to debunk some songs that it may or may not be on, and then give evidence for others. And we'll play you some Beatles audio maybe along the way.
Alright, so let's dive right on in then. So, first song, Every Little Thing. Let's talk about it.
Well, should we give some background?
Did John...
Background on the guitar first?
Yes, background on the guitar.
Okay.
So who has that up?
I've got a book. Aha. So, it's the book on the bottom. So let me dig around here for a second. But basically, people from Rickenbacker came by and gave George the 360-12 after the Ed Sullivan show, and then John requested the 325-12, I believe, and I saw also on the same order, Brian Epstein requested 360-12 for Jerry Marsden, and so those got made, I think, in February of 64, and then were shipped out and made it to like New York around, I think it was like April 7th or something like that. And then sometime after that, like maybe a week after that, who knows, they get over to London. And this is all in Beatles gear, I believe. Dom's probably fact checking me now.
I'm looking for it right now. Yeah.
But
what page?
Yeah, so there's a handful while he's looking. Oh, you got it?
Page 267. So, now I quote it from Beatles Gear. For many years, guitar enthusiasts believed that some songs on Beatles for Sale, such as Words of Love, were used the that's the Vox Mando guitar. Shame on me. But some also claim that it was a 325-12, which obviously that's double track Tennessean. So it looks like. So Lennon's Rick 12 did get some use during the '64 tour. And we know
Right.
that.
So it's
It was
on. The most notable one is probably the Australia. Is it Melbourne? The TV. Maybe it's not Melbourne, but
No, that's somewhere in Scandinavia, wasn't it? Denmark.
oh, that's right. Yeah. Not Australia.
And that's when Jimmy Nicol
Yeah, I'm just
filling
throwing
in,
off
right?
by
For
Jimmy
drumming.
Correct.
But the video where they mime, I believe it's All My Lovin', and I can't remember what else they mime on that. But it's one with Jimmy Nicol in the background playing, and
Yes.
John's holding it. Unfortunately, it's mimed, so we don't get to actually hear what it sounds like. I read also that John actually used it live in Boston, and that was like the only time he used it live, and that was I can't remember when that was now, but we have a little bit of snippets of audio and video of that, but it's kind of hard to tell that it's that guitar.
I believe he had broken a string
Oh, okay.
on the DB122, his 64 regular,
Okay.
325, and he had used that. The 325-12 was a backup.
Gotcha.
Also might be worth mentioning that George's 360-12 was probably made in '63.
Yes.
Right.
Because by the time Ed Sullivan, and also a little tangent. I hate to go off the rails, but Tom Petty's famous guitar in "Damn the Torpedoes" was the next guitar in line in production after George's
Right.
360-12, and
Correct.
those were very early prototypes. So John's and George's were pretty rare Rickenbackers at that point.
Yes. Now, John's 325-12, I believe, was shipped to him in March of '64.
It said April. That's what
April.
I found. I think that's it in Beatles gear. Let me find.
So it could have been made in '63 as well.
It said it was a few behind his 325. It was like 30 serial numbers behind his 325, I think.
So
Okay.
around turn of that year ish.
Okay.
So
I'm just
it
guessing.
said, I think the thing I said, I'd need to check to back it up. But, oh, see, now I've got the wrong page open.
So
But,
Boston, I believe, was September 12th of
Yeah, that
'64.
sounds right.
And I might be, you might be right, Ryan. I think he did use it as his main guitar for some reason that day.
All right, let's get it.
Just being into September '64, that is pretty late into '64. I mean,
Yes,
G.
it
Jordan
is.
was in '65.
Yeah.
Where is this picture?
Now, he did appear with it on Dutch TV,
Right.
and that's where the whole incidents with Jimmy Nicol came around and all that stuff. So Lennon had asked John Hall, I think, to make him a 12-string
Yeah.
325. I don't know why.
Yeah,
I-
maybe
I-
he just liked playing George's. I mean, there's a few photos of him playing it, like,
Yeah.
backstage on the set of the movie.
Yep.
Why?
Well, you see, he liked the frame miss, so he definitely loved
Yeah.
to play 12 strings as well.
Yeah.
Possibly a bit of jealousy as well. Anything George,
Yeah.
I must
Of
have
course.
it as well.
Of course.
A new toy.
Now, I would like to actually throw in a bit of trivia
Oh.
about this. While it says 325-12 on the invoice, it's technically
Right.
a 320. It
Yeah.
started off with the vibrato when they made it at the factory. They had made it with the vibrato, but they had discovered that
Did not
You
stay in
can't.
tune.
you can't keep it in tune.
It's hard enough with 12 strings to begin with.
Well, now with a short scale one, it's even worse, right? So,
Okay, I finally got the page open, so I can read this. There's a
Okay.
letter from Brian Epstein to John C. Hall, and let's see. Yeah, it says Rickenbacker's archives show that the two guitars, this is John's 325-12 and Jerry Marsden's 360-12, were shipped from the Santa Ana, California factory on March 17th, and the freight company then held the shipment on April 8th until April 8th, when it was loaded onto a boat in New York headed for England.
okay.
So April 8th is the date it gets sent over to London. And
Okay.
I checked Mark Lewison's book, and so that places it after not every. that places it, I think, where the earliest song it could have been on is A Hard Day's Night, which obviously it's not. But I think the session maybe right after that is it the one for Matchbox? Yeah. I think that's right. Yeah, there's A Hard Day's Night is April 16th. And then you got some mono mixing. They record You Can't Do That, the piano track by George Martin. And then after that it's Matchbox and Slow Down and I'll Cry Instead. So that's the first one maybe we should talk about. Cuz I know
Matchbox?
Dom's at least got some theories. Yeah, Matchbox.
So I want to go into a little background with the recording sessions for Matchbox. Now we know it's a Carl Perkins song, but like that's obviously not the most famous version of the song, right? You know, the Beatles version is. So I've got a couple of sources pulled up here on my computer. And John Lennon recalls in, 1980, there have only been 2 great albums that I listened to all the way through when I was about 16. One was Carl Perkins' first or second, I can't remember, which I really enjoyed every track. McCartney described Perkins as our big hero, who had written Blue Suede Shoes. So these guys were big fans of Carl Perkins, right? George was a massive fan of Carl Perkins.
His pseudonym Carl Harrison.
Yes, exactly. I mean, I think Carl was the person that George looked up to the most as a guitar player. So, obviously they wanted to record a Carl Perkins song. And with Beatles for Sale, around this time, they were just knocking stuff out, especially to keep in time to release an album by Christmas.
Right.
So, I don't remember if this was a song that they had done at the Cavern. I don't remember if this was something they did live.
So I know I found a BBC recording of it, which is I think
Okay.
a few months earlier, maybe in March or something.
Of 63?
Of
Or 64?
64.
Okay.
I think that's right. I need to check.
Okay.
I can pull it up, play it if you want to hear it, because it actually I want you to explain your theory, because I think this BBC recording might have something to say about it. But say
right.
what you think's going on that song.
On the record?
Yeah.
So here's my theory. And I'm sticking to it until someone else proves me otherwise. So we have George playing the lead riff. Right? And then we got John backing him up on the 12-string 325 during the, in the way back.
We can play it.
Yeah. 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 So other people claim that it's the other way around, where John's playing that riff and George is backing him. Some people claim that John played the solo on the record. Some
Notably,
people claim that
Malibu
George,
made a video a while ago
yeah,
claiming that.
and that's why people think, that he played the solo, and it's a big mystery. That song is a big mystery to me. I don't know about you guys, but
Well, we had talked about that, Ryan and I, initially, and when I had listened to it, I listened to the isolated track version, and I could definitely hear 12-string, without a doubt. It's in there. So, I mean, it's just a question of who was playing it. And,
yeah, it's funny.
that I just didn't go any further on that.
Like, even a few, years ago, even knowing that there was a 12-string on it was apparently not well known. Because, books definitely didn't mention that.
yes,
They would just say that it was, 2 6-string. I think Jerry Hammock's book maybe says that, but I'd have to check.
I just
And
looked up in my BBC sessions on my iTunes. It was around May 64 was
Okay.
Matchbox.
So the Beatles went on they had a month of vacation in May. They actually, you know what? You know what's funny? They went into the studio on June 1st
Right.
to
Well, wasn't there the Long Tall Sally EP was recorded sort of around the end of Hard Day's Night sessions, sort of
Yeah. Was
it?
after-ish?
I think
I think it was around June or July when
so.
they kind of,
Matchbox and
did
Slow
that.
Down are both on June 1st.
which was also I'll Cry Instead was around then. So I guess they were kind of
And-
wrapping up the.
yeah.
Long Tall Sally was already done because it got mixed on June 4th.
So the 59th anniversary of the recording of Matchbox is tomorrow.
Oh,
Wow.
Well, that's
Oh,
cool.
well, happy birthday.
Yeah, really.
I just learned that that song "You Know What to Do" by George Harrison was also considering being included in Hard Day's Night. They were kind of wrapping up the sessions, but then Ringo got sick and Jimmy Nicol had to come in, and the rest is history. But apparently there were 3 songs they were considering: "You Know What to Do," "No Reply," an early demo version, and then "It's For You," I think,
Yeah.
which
Oh, yeah.
Paul gave
I mean,
to
these-
Or just for you, maybe. I don't know if that was the working title.
It's
at
for
the
you,
time.
the Cilla Black song.
Cilla Black. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
it.
So, again, this album was very rushed, Beatles
Yeah.
for Sale, because they needed an album out by Christmas. And that's
Are you
why there's
talking
so
about
many.
Beatles for Sale or Hard
Yes.
Day's Night?
Beatles for
Because
Sale, they needed
Hard
an
Day's
album
Night was
out by
pretty
Christmas.
rushed too.
Yes, it was. Yes, it
I mean,
was.
like the thing I didn't realize until I started looking this up is that anytime at all, things we said today and when I got home were all recorded the day before Ringo got sick, which is pretty wild.
And they had
Yeah.
a movie to film also
Yeah.
during
Yeah.
all that. It's pretty
That was
crazy.
like 2 days before they had to go down to Australia or whatever.
So 64 was a very hectic, the early 64 up to this point was very hectic for them. So we know that, yeah, Matchbox was recorded on June 1st. Now, Carl was invited to the session to witness it,
Right.
but he did not play on it. Some people claim that he played on the
Right.
track, but he observed it.
It said something
Although-
about they probably jammed or they
Yes,
definitely
they-
jammed, but there's no recording of that.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
So the session ran from about 2:30 to 5:30. So the first hour, 2:30 to 3:30, was utilized to record Matchbox.
Mm-hmm.
Was
So
it done in one take or was it
5
kind of-
takes.
5 takes. That's
Three
not
of
that
them.
many.
3 of them were complete.
So this is something that was kind of interesting. I was looking at John C. Wynn's book. I don't remember what it's called now, but he was like for a while the sort of head guy on all the session stuff, and he said something that I didn't realize was. He said that the backing track was recorded with the 2 guitars, bass, and drums, and Ringo singing, and then there was 2 overdubs of the solo and Ringo singing again. So there's
Yes.
Ringo is triple tracked on the vocal, which I didn't realize. But you
I
can definitely
believe
tell
it.
if you listen to
Yeah.
the when he yells or whatever, it comes
Well,
in
'cause-
separately.
Well, his vocals were not as powerful
Mm-hmm.
as the other 3 because he wasn't a serious singer. So it makes sense.
Yeah. But what that meant to me was that the double tracked solo is separate from the basic track. Which
Yeah.
means the person playing the 6th string on the basic track doesn't automatically have to be playing the solo.
Yeah.
Still doing rhythm over the
Right.
Yes.
the backing.
Yes.
Yeah, which that
So
was
4
new
guitars
to me.
in total.
Because I thought that the solo was recorded on the basic track and then it was double tracked, but it was the 2 solos that were added
Overdubbed.
were entirely separate from the basic track.
Yes. Yes.
So Dom, your theory is that you think that John's on the 325/12 on that,
Yes.
right? And
Yeah.
was there any specific reasoning for that?
Now, I have a very finely tuned ear, so I'm really sensitive to discrepancies in the way a guitar sounds.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why I'm always on with every little thing. It's, it sounds different, and I can't explain why. But the 320/12 has this very distinct, almost just terrible sound. I mean, I'm not going to beat around the bush. It sounds horrible. It's a terrible sounding guitar. It's a terrible guitar to begin with. But, and again, with John's playing, he wasn't much of a showman, so it made sense for him to kind of stick in the back a little bit.
Well, with Matchbox, too, the solo is sloppy. It kind of does
Yes.
sound a little bit like You Can't Do That. When you listen to the isolated, you hear him kind of flopping around a little bit like You Can't Do That. So I
Yeah.
kind of assumed John would have it's a possibility.
Yeah.
I'm not fully against it.
Yeah. Now,
And alternatively, if the backing track consists of John and George, and let's just say John did play a 6th string, it would have to be the Rickenbacker 325, and it doesn't really sound like one. Tell me if I'm wrong.
it does not. No. I actually, back when I had a gent, an actual gent, we had my group Beatology had recorded Matchbox, and I had played the solo on the gent, and I'll have to send it in at some point. It was exact. It sounded exactly the same. You know.
So, quick question: Is there any chance that it would have been, like, if it's John playing a 12 string, could he have just been playing George's 360-12?
I mean, it's possible.
Could have it when it was double take the 2 other times. Is it possibility that George played double guitar?
Well, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
So I think we're agreed that George plays the solo, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and that's probably the country gent.
Yeah.
So the thing that I didn't realize that I'm starting to think now because of the BBC recording is I think that John's doing the, like...
Yes.
And the reason why...
Yeah.
Like, not the...
He did play lead on the BBC recordings, yeah.
Right. That's what I noticed, and I didn't realize that. Because, like, the guitar that does this other bit, the guitar that does this... this part. That's the guitar on the BBC recording that does the solo.
Yes.
And so that made me think it's probably George doing the solo, so it's probably George doing that part. And which would make me think John's doing the other part. Do
you happen to have that
I do.
pulled up?
That's probably good enough.
Okay.
That's interesting. That
That's
sounds a
very
lot like
interesting.
George to me.
Yeah, George
solo.
is country gentleman right there.
Yeah, yeah.
And it sounds like underneath it, it's doing underneath the solo. So that must be John, right?
Yeah.
Ryan, can you bring up an isolated track of the current song or what it would be today?
Yeah, I can. Wait, so can you restate what you just said?
Oh, I was saying that it sounded like George to me soloing, but underneath the solo, you hear the...
So that's the thing I was trying to figure out is it that under the solo, or is it the... I mean,
No.
Unfortunately, they are pretty similar, so no. Maybe I
No,
just misheard it when I heard it. So now
I'm
it's
hearing
just-
I'm
okay.
hearing the riff. Do 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 do.
Okay. So you're hearing the...
I think. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I did hear that, I think maybe a little more or a little less of the other thing when I heard it this time. But when I first listened to it, I was thinking the opposite. But, well, now I just added up some suspense, so that's not the worst thing. But, yeah, so you want me to play the original one? And let me, while we're here, play the mono on the solo, because I didn't realize how much different it was.
Did you guys notice that open D string strike?
Oh, yeah, no, it's way more audible on the mono.
Oh man, never heard that. Oh boy, that's a mess.
Yeah, I hadn't listened to the mono in a while, at least.
So
it's it's very
wow.
sloppy. You can definitely tell they did that quickly.
Yeah, so that's some sources claim that to be John, which honestly, as sloppy as that was, I wouldn't be surprised if it was John on George's gent.
But John is definitely more of a percussive, like, I'm not going to play one note at a time kind of guy.
He very much and if he does, it's very much he sticks to that minor pentatonic scale all the time. So, which is the same case here. But again, going back to the 12 string, I don't know what you guys are hearing, but there definitely is one there.
All right, let's just look at this real quick because this, I think, is a really good demonstration of the solo. There's no.
So that's
it's very.
There's no 12 string in that. That's straight 6 string, double tracked right there.
Yeah.
Double layered country gent.
Yeah, that definitely, the poppiness of it or whatever, that bit.
Is it possible that was the Tennessean?
It's possible. I'd have to do some tests.
Well,
it sounds
he did,
more like tenny to me.
He did have the Tennessean.
I have a gent and a tenny right here. If you ever want
to. So I'll cry instead. Matchbox and Slow Down are all the same day. Does that tell you anything about whether that's the Tennessean?
I mean, that's probably the gent for most of those, right?
Yeah.
But I have a theory about the Tennessean, which is another tangent, but going back to January '64
Can't
with
Buy Me Love.
"Can't Buy Me Love."
Yeah.
I think that he used that on the original
Yes.
solo
Right.
because
I
he
think
was touring
I
with
agree
it that week. But anyway,
Well, good debate on Matchbox at least.
Yeah, I think I'm over on Dom's side now. I think I was wrong initially that it's John
Again,
on the 325/12 maybe.
One
there.
day I will get my hands on a 325/12. I just got to do a little negotiating, and
sell a kidney.
I'm willing to do it. I'll do it.
Well, I mean,
Well, but then there's other factors into it too, because now let's talk about which one are you going to get? Are you going to get the V Series one, because then that has
Well-
the high gains on it, and also that capacitor mod I just did. The C Series and all the vintage Rickenbackers have that capacitor mod, changes the sound fully.
Yes.
So I mean, in order to really test it to get that sound, it's like I don't know.
Yeah.
so
tough.
I definitely I hadn't considered the whole like date of when he got the 325/12, and I think that also adds to the evidence because so I don't know how long shipping from New York to London would have been at the time. You guys
Probably
got
a
any
long
guesses
time.
on that?
Super long time.
At least
By
a
the
few
time.
weeks, or 2 weeks
Yeah.
maybe.
I was gonna say
Because
2
if
weeks.
it's shipped
Yeah.
on the 8th, Hard Day's Night is recorded on the 16th. It's definitely not on that, but I good bet he didn't have it yet, right? 8 days,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this would have been the next recording they did. So crack out the new guitar. Like this
Yeah.
was the first song they did at the session,
Yeah.
and then maybe he played it. He opened up the case the first time, played it, and he's like, "Wow, this is crap. I'm not gonna
Maybe.
play this anymore."
Well, honestly, I think same goes with George using his 360/12 on basically the entire Hard Day's Night album.
Right.
He had just gotten it. He's like, "Oh, this is so cool! I love this thing."
Yeah, George
I'm
is
gonna use it
crazy
on
for
everything.
using the guitars as soon as he got them.
Well, yeah, that was exactly it. So I think that I don't know about you guys, but that's my theory on Matchbox.
Yeah, I buy it.
That's part of the excitement too, because it was like one of the first pop records to use a Rickenbacker 12-string ever. So
Yeah.
it was exciting. Maybe that's partly
Yeah,
why
yeah,
John wanted one too.
Yeah.
Jerry too.
Well, what do you say? You guys want to move on to every little thing?
Yeah. Okay, so just as a little background for this, some stuff gets recorded. They go do their whole movie business, all that jazz. Now we're in September '64.
Yes.
So September 29th is the first day that's relevant, which is where they do the first 4 takes of every little thing, and they record I Don't Want to Spoil the Party.
Mm-hmm.
And they scrap those takes on every little thing. We don't have those as far as I know, except for one weird thing that I found, which I'll show you guys. And then the next day, September 30th, lots of stuff happens that day, it seems, because that's every little thing gets finished that day. They do some takes of, let's see. Oh, I forgot to mention. They also did 7 takes of What You're Doing on the previous day.
Correct.
And those got scrapped. Then they finish every little thing, like takes, 5 through 9 or something like that. And then they work on it, What You're Doing. That What You're Doing, they go up to take 11, and that gets all scrapped as well. But we have take 11, and then
Yes.
then they go and do No Reply all the way through. They finish it.
Mm-hmm.
And so the lucky thing about this is that September 30th, 1964 is one of the days that we actually have photos for.
Yes.
And there's like 100 photos of the session. And I've got them all ready to go if we want to look at them.
Yes. Let's
Yeah.
let's pull those up. All right, so we have George sitting there with his 63. Looks like he's sitting next to a mic'd up AC. No.
Early AC 100
100,
had
yeah.
the basket top, which is the very early first ones, and has the thin edge head, which means it's copper panel. So if anything, that technically, yeah, that was his, I think. Yeah, I thought
Mic'd
John
up.
had that one, but yeah, it wouldn't make a difference.
Mic'd up with a U-47.
Okay.
Excellent.
Yeah. Admiring the Neumann.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
You guys ready to go on a journey?
Of course.
So remember,
Always ready.
this is No Reply, Every Little Thing, and what's it called? What You're Doing.
What
so
you're doing.
each of these has to be one of those songs, probably.
Yes.
So got a bunch of George, and also you'll note neck position.
pickup. Interesting.
I did also note there's a nice photo of George in here somewhere. So, which I'm curious about the tone knobs and volume knobs, but that's probably a bit too much. So here we've got double U47s, or is it U48s? I don't actually know. I can't remember the difference.
47, yeah.
47. And so this is an acoustic, which is not on the What You're Doing from this session. The at least Take 11 doesn't have an acoustic on it.
Well, he's playing a bar G there.
Yeah, well, see, fun thing about that, every song of those three uses a G.
Oh, great.
Which is, I actually thought this thought to myself earlier today. But yeah, that's a good photo there. Got some Ringo timpani drums, so every little
Timpani,
thing.
of course, with every little thing. Yes, of course.
Um,
Okay, John
this
singing
I
tambourine.
couldn't figure out. There's nothing with tambourine that they did that day that I could tell. So this might have been earlier takes of What You're Doing that we don't have.
Well,
Or
try to find the ones with the 12 string.
you want me to play the two 12 strings?
Yeah,
'Cause
and
I
try to
wanted
find
to-
the photos if you can.
Oh, okay. I was gonna get to those. I don't know where they are specifically. I'll just go through all these.
Yeah.
So this is the first interesting thing. Sam might not know about this. Sam, do you know about this photo?
Isn't it Paul holding John's Rick 325?
Yeah. So do you have any idea what's going on? Why is he holding that?
I've always wondered.
So I think we may have figured this out the first time we talked after you left.
Yeah.
Which will become apparent soon, but I want to drag it out a little bit just for fun. Yeah.
Wow, there's
So
a lot
then
of photos. There it is.
that's two of them.
Yeah.
John's got the 12 string, and Paul's got the 6 string, upside down,
Of course.
and of course the Python strap. Every Little Thing lyrics on the music stand, and then here we've got No Reply, What You're Doing, and I Don't Want to Spoil the Party, which they did the
so
day
those are the
before.
songs that were recorded. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's
Again,
another good shot
on the 12
there.
string.
Now take a look at that. Go back to that. Just a weird.
Yeah,
bit
where
of,
he's putting the fingers too.
No.
Oh, I
This
didn't
is
think
like
about that.
completely strange. Look at the truss rod cover. Look how weird it looks.
Oh.
Rick would cut them. They would put it on the headstock. They would cut them according to the way the headstock was shaped, which is why George is shaped kind of weird. This one's shaped really weird. So it's just a weird little detail. They don't do that now, obviously.
Huh.
But Paul, you made a good point. Look where his fingers were.
Yeah, it looks
Yeah.
like, he's
I mean, it
playing
looks
that
like
the way I
the-
would. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is another
What
one
You're
that's
Doing.
interesting. The
Yeah.
volume knobs.
That's
Because-
a great
All
photo,
over the
actually.
weird spot.
Aren't these like, these are the two volume knobs, these are the two tone knobs, but aren't these two like only at half power?
Mhm.
Or
Yeah.
Actually,
I was confused about
Just-
that.
yeah.
hold on a second.
Yeah, I had
Yeah.
to look at mine
Wait.
too.
Wait.
Yeah, mine
so-
go all the way down towards the.
But I
So
I
this-
wouldn't.
his pants.
This is like something where I wouldn't be surprised if the knobs were just weird on his.
Well, no. I mean, they're weird on mine too. I mean, these are all the way up, and look how they are.
Oh, I can't actually tell because I'm sharing.
Yeah. I mean,
Mine
Are
all
they
point
not
down
aligned?
towar's
no,
the ground.
they're
So
not
Dom,
aligned
they're not
at all.
aligned on yours.
No.
Oh wow, mine.
Huh.
Interesting.
Mine are, yeah.
Okay,
Well, I mean,
so
mine's
yeah,
not authentic.
so this means nothing to us then.
yeah.
Well, no, hang on. It could actually, though, because it might, from the factory, Rickenbacker would have aligned them probably. And George, I highly doubt he would have done anything different with them. You know, he wouldn't have popped them off.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, though, in the studio, they would back off the volume knob. They would
Right.
have their amp a little loud and then kind of adjust from there.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if he turned the volume knob down.
I'm playing it right now myself, and it's just really low through the amp. Like, yeah.
And these are rehearsed.
But it's thin though. I do have to say it's thin and it's not bassy though, like you would assume it would be, like muddy in that up position. It's not.
Yeah.
Okay, let's keep going.
Keep going.
Okay, this is that. Whatever John's doing with the tambourine, this is that take. George has the 12 string still.
325
this is
sitting on a chair.
One batch of photos with the Tennessean in it. That's over here.
Yes. Yes.
Maybe, so that's another question for later, maybe to think about at some point, is no reply. It's what's going on with that, because the Tennessean is definitely not on these other two songs.
Yeah.
Is this the 29th or the 30th?
This is the 30th.
Yeah.
So I don't want to spoil the party. Definitely
That's
had the
already,
Tennessean
yeah,
on
that's
it.
already done, though.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That was done the previous day.
That song screams Tennessean, yes.
So we'll revisit that, and obviously you can still see the two Rickenbackers there. One's on the timpani. We got a couple of these photos.
Okay.
John's definitely doing something with the tambourine, but there's no... I couldn't find any takes that support that. Mal Evans, I think.
Yep.
Some nice tea.
That is the 6 string, yeah.
This is the 12 strings?
Is it? It's
I don't
blurry.
know.
I always thought it was the 6.
I mean, one of them's over here. That looks like the 6
Oh, that's
there.
the 6. Yeah.
Yeah. So also, John had just... I don't remember what day, but he just got his other Gibson after his first got stolen. And that's in these photos. So I think this looks like the older one, right?
I see another ring around the... That looks like a 64.
Okay. I wouldn't actually know about that stuff then.
Yeah.
You guys could tell me better. But I think both Gibsons show up in these.
Yeah.
Yeah, more timpani. George always... All these photos, George is playing the 360-12.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
Paul with this guy.
So this is as they're recording either what you're doing, every little thing, probably one of those two,
Right.
or no reply.
If there's a 12 string on it, it's one of those two.
Okay. Yeah.
So now let me pause and try and play the take 11 of what you're doing, because I think that clears up some of this, especially like some of the I wrapped around. I went through all the photos, but some of these photos where they're both on Ricks, that will make maybe a little more sense here in a minute. So let me stop this and play that real quick.
Wow.
All right.
That
so
was
just listen to take 11. Thoughts?
that was rough. That was very rough. But I can hear a 12 string, another 12 string in there.
There's two 12 strings on that.
Interesting.
So, Sam, that's the first time you've heard that, right?
Well, is that the anthology one? I think I've heard that before.
I think it is. I just meant we played it
the
last
first time hearing.
Yeah, we played it last time after you left.
I never realized that was another 12 string. No.
Yeah, I didn't notice. I don't think I had ever heard it before. Like, just that whole take in general. But, okay, so now this brings up an interesting question, which is there's two 12 strings, there's a choppy 6 string, there's bass, and there's drums.
5.
Right, and that's on one take. The bass is very simple. It's just the two notes back and forth, and it's not the way Paul plays it on the final version. So I think that's those photos you see of Paul with the Rick. I think he's doing the choppy chords, and then John and George dueling 12 strings, and then someone else played the two bass notes, and Ringo's on drums. That's my guess.
I didn't hear 3 guitars though. I just heard the riff and then a choppy 12 string.
You didn't hear it. Let me.
No, I also didn't hear it in stereo. I thought I just mentioned that. It's only mono for some reason.
Okay, let me. So right side's doing this, and the left side's doing this.
Oh, I hear it now.
Okay. But the other one at the same time does this.
What the heck? No, I hear it now.
Let me email the file maybe to you guys real quick.
That is really suspicious.
I can hear that there.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I can send it to you guys later. But I'm convinced that what's going on with that is I think Paul's on the choppy guitar, George is on the lead bit on the right, and then John's on the other 12 string on the left. That's what
But
I
then
think.
someone has to be playing bass. Is there bass as well?
So someone's got to be playing bass. The bass part is like just like the two notes, and he's not. There's no rhythm to it. It's just like quarter notes. So it's not
George
Paul.
Martin.
It might be like George actually had played on the first two takes of No Reply. George Martin plays piano.
Did you guys hear though on the bridge or chorus that Paul sounded double tracked?
Yeah, he did double track it
So maybe
On
the
that take?
overdub stuff.
on take
Yeah.
11. Yeah.
Okay, that it could be some stuff overdubbed then, which throws a wrench in this. I wonder
he
why
did-
they. I wish we had the other takes. I don't know
He
why
did
they would have
double-track his
bothered
vocals.
overdubbing
He double tracked his vocals in the bridge for sure.
on the final one or on this one you just listened to.
On take 11.
Okay, that wasn't just Paul and John together. I didn't pay enough
No.
attention.
No.
I don't want to play it again too much because yeah, but
Copyright.
interesting. That's
Anyway.
definitely a mystery. So maybe there's some overdubs going on there, but I think that's what's going on with Paul holding the 325.
Paul, we
That's
haven't
my
heard from
guess.
you in a second. What do you think?
No, I'm absorbing it. No, it all sounds. I know. The problem is I know we talked about a lot of this before, and I agree. I agree. I kind of feel like Paul was playing that choppy pot, at least for that recording.
Yeah.
But then the overdub thing technically could be Paul
Right.
playing the bass over, but just maybe playing it quick to get it through, knowing that they might not be saving it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he just maybe threw it in at the end just to get it done. But at the same time, though, like we've talked about in the past, that Paul definitely did use that 325. We've seen him use it before. There's numerous pictures elsewhere, even him at Shea Stadium before they got on. You see him playing it. He's always been using that thing. So he's really good at playing it upside down, and it would make perfect sense for him to nail it perfectly.
It is
Right.
kind of funny though. It took 3 recording sessions to get what you're doing
Yeah.
down. So it was a problem child. Should we shift gears to every
Yeah.
little thing?
Let me play some audio for you real quick.
Yeah.
So there's this weird thing.
Yeah, that's I completely
I got a
forgot
lot to
about
say on
that.
this one.
I forgot about that. That's incredible.
You guys have heard that before? Where did
I
that come
have.
from?
That's a bootleg. Came from a bootleg.
Mhm.
I forgot about that.
It says so. It's titled "Every Little Thing." Take 4 parentheses George on vocals.
Yes.
I don't know what the
I heard
heck
him. I heard him. I heard George.
that. Okay, I wasn't sure if I could hear him or not.
So 100%, I feel like we can say that this song you can hear Paul playing the Rickenbacker, because that's when they go into the chorus, you can hear that's him doing those downstrokes on the Rickenbacker. Well, be more of like an upstroke or whatever the hell he'd be doing.
Well,
you can
it's
hear
some
that, and then
sixth string.
you hear, without a doubt, it's electric 6-string.
Yes.
You hear John on his acoustic, and you hear
Okay.
George on his 12-string.
I
Yes.
thought you were talking about the da 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 da.
Yeah, that's
Sam,
what I was. Yeah.
Sam has something to say
That
about
definitely.
that. I think.
I feel like that he did do that. That's not done on the bass like I see a lot of people try to mimic when they try to re-record the song. It's not. You can hear distinctively that that's a 6-string that's going, in
Yes.
that little part right there.
So that could be Paul.
That could be Paul.
Sam,
that
what
was
do you
double
think?
tracked when they were singing vocals over.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I might think that it's maybe an earlier take because when I was doing my cover and I was listening to that little, I started to isolate it, and to me it sounded more like the Hofner.
You think so? Yeah.
But I
I
don't
think
know.
it's definitely
I don't know.
bassier on the one that made it in.
And there's no timpani on this early version. There's a lot
Right.
of stuff that's different about it, which is really cool.
Well, if this is take 4, this is from the day before.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that whole
okay.
Paul and the Rick might be out the window for that. I have no idea.
Anything's out the window now.
Yeah.
I've never seen recording session notes from that day, so I don't know who's on what.
And
George is on
again,
12.
He's without a 12. I think the main song, it's safe to say, when the song was recorded, I feel like he was on the the 12 string on his 360 V60.
Yeah.
Well,
So
Yeah,
Paul,
it's
you
the
think
60.
George was doing the release, doing that?
I think he was doing that. He was playing solo. You
Oh,
hear
yeah.
John. He's on the acoustic. You hear John.
Yeah,
you hear
absolutely.
his strumming. You hear his droning. It is John 100% on the acoustic.
Yeah.
That's pretty intricate. I mean, as stupid as it is, the play and everything, if you think about it, it does take a little bit of, perfect picking. You can't, I mean, if you listen to even when I try to replicate the song, every single time when it would start, it was like, oh, I hit it too hard. Or, I went too late on that part. Where you hear it's played perfectly. John he wouldn't have played it that perfectly.
Which he
would have
does
slopped something
on
up.
that second part, the second 12-string part on take 11 of the other song, What You're Doing. He does play it sloppily on the 12-string on the left side.
Again, with every little thing, that is, again, without question, one of the absolute worst lead guitar parts in the history of the Beatles' discography. It is such a terrible sounding part. I'm just being honest.
Are you talking about tone or just like what he's actually playing?
Tone,
Okay.
intonation. I mean, the guitar sounds wickedly out of tune.
Well, so then that goes back to what we were saying before. I think, Sam, you had left at this point. When I had recorded What You Were Doing on these were like 6-7 years ago, and again, I want to re-record those. Let's save that for a different day. But make a long story short, when I played it, I played that, on this, but when I listened to it, it sounded thin. Not so much thin, but you could hear that the intonation was off. You could hear the guitar was off, because again, these are perfectly well known for having intonation issues. I feel like that's where you hear the 6-string come in. When I then re-recorded, I took my Casino and just did that part over it. You layer them together, the intonation problem's gone. Everything is solved. So I feel like that's why they did a lot of that recording technique of over-layering, is to get rid of intonation or tuning issues.
Yeah.
But especially in that song, there's a good chance that hearing that 6-string go like that, there was a 6-string in the background playing along with him, possibly to help the intonation issue.
Yeah.
I actually think that there's an overdubbed Rick 12 or some other guitar in the solo, because when I was doing my cover, once again, I'm plugging myself, but listening to the isolated tracks, they're doing different stuff. And I also believe that at the end, towards the end, there's like this really precise like roll that the 12-string does. It's like, and it does a little open B string. And it's like, I don't know if John had that precision. I don't know.
He was a very
I don't.
player.
I'm not gonna
With
try
the
to
whole overlayering.
I'm not gonna try to
go ahead.
substantiate this with anything beyond like the stuff we just heard, and just like listening to the songs in general. But I think that George is on all the 12-string parts on every little thing. I think
Really?
John may have fooled around a little bit, and I think he's definitely on the second 12-string on What You're Doing on take 11. But I don't think it ever made it past that.
But was Dom saying that the 325-12 has that different tone? Like,
Now,
it sounds
here,
different?
I will elaborate with this. Obviously, the 325s, they got 3 pickups. And, if you combine the neck and middle or the bridge and middle, you're going to get a very distinct sort of quacky tone, right? So, to me, it sounds like, not only does it sound horribly out of tune, but the tone itself, I think, resembles that of a Stratocaster in the middle and bridge positions.
Interesting.
And again, that maybe it's just my overthinking. I'm maybe trusting my ear too much, maybe. But
Well,
think
no, I
know
just
what I'm
agree
doing.
with you. I agree with you on the tone thing, because again, when I had made my little, everybody plays it like that, of course. But when
Yeah.
I had made that video, that quick little video on YouTube, I did it up there because through the AC100, it sounded better to me. But again, playing either way, no matter what, you can't get it. There's something off about the tone of it that just doesn't make sense.
That's what I'm saying. It sounds so much more different than George's Rick.
And you would say that even through the AC100?
Yeah, but at the same time, now that I did the low gains on this with that capacitor mod's a whole game changer. So I could try it again, because now at least this is technically back to what George's would have been back in the day. He has had the capacitor and everything.
I was going to ask, does anyone know when they got the AC100s?
60, well,
I know it's
Paul
64.
got his
but-
63. Paul's got his 63, and then they got theirs beginning early 64.
But they didn't use them for Hard Day's Night.
In AC50s for Hard Day's Night.
Yeah. So
We'll save that for a different video on how underused the AC30s actually were, and there's virtually there's not many songs were done on the AC30 technically.
Well, so what's the first session that would have had the AC100s for guitars?
Beatles for Sale.
Well, which session?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, that's
I mean, I would have to say the whole thing.
Yeah.
Up and down, straight, the whole thing.
I just had a quick tangent based on what Dom said about the tone. I was talking to a friend today about every little thing, just saying, oh, what do you think it was? And he was like, I just can't believe that it's John playing, but it doesn't sound like the 360-12. He's like, I think George borrowed, John's 325-12. And then he said something about he had heard that George showed up late to the session, and that is there some truth to that?
I thought that was on the previous day though, but I can't remember.
Maybe it was, because then he was saying, well, then would he not have been playing acoustic? But there had to be the acoustic and electric playing together for the backing, right? It couldn't have been one guitar.
Yeah, I think that late to the session thing is from the
Get
day
our fact
before.
checker on it.
But I don't actually know.
Looks like
I read it somewhere, but I don't remember where I read it.
Just because he showed up late to the session doesn't mean it.
Right.
This was the 30th, right?
Yeah, this is the 30th. I think he was late to the 29th, maybe.
Yeah, because they started.
But I don't remember.
I think
I don't know where to find it.
No, the 30th. The recording session on the 30th started at 2:30 p.m. It was a 3-hour recording session focused solely on re-recording every little thing.
Mm-hmm.
Did they do anything else that day on the 30th?
The 30th. That's the photos we were looking at. Is the 30th?
Yeah.
That's every little thing. What you're doing and No Reply, and they finished No Reply that day.
So so they focused 3 hours, the first 3 hours of that session on every little thing. Then they went on to What You're Doing and No Reply.
Yeah, they did 4 hours for those other two.
Yeah.
And again, the photos we see might not be.
Yeah, we don't know what
entirely
time. We just know the
all.
timpani. The timpani is definitely every little thing, right?
So five new takes of the song were recorded on that day.
Yeah.
George on acoustic rhythm, Ringo on drums, Paul on bass, and both John and Paul performing their vocal parts.
Did you say George on acoustic?
Yeah.
On every little thing?
I'm going off of Beatles books.
Oh, I don't I don't know about that. I would not buy that.
I don't know.
I mean, they're interesting.
Well, there's
I
also
have no
the
idea.
quote that Paul McCartney said. Hold on, sorry.
Yeah, where did that come from? I remember you said something about that.
Yeah, I'm on Wiki. The recording has been the source of some confusion, clearly, based on McCartney's comments in 1964 that the electric guitar was played by Lennon rather than by George Harrison. In their respective lineups for the song, authors Ian MacDonald and Kenneth Womack each credit Harrison for the lead part on a Rickenbacker 12. And
It's
Lennon
totally
on acoustic.
believable he's remembering that second part on, the other song from the same day.
Yeah.
And for all we know, take 5 or takes 1 through 4 could have had other stuff going on with the electric, the 325-12.
Paul is famous for rewriting history. I mean, look at his Let It Be story.
Yeah.
I mean, reality was it was written about Mal Evans.
Brother Malcolm.
Yes. Yes. So, I mean, he's notorious for rewriting history. Ringo doesn't remember. I think George was probably the only.
To be fair, he did
honest
say
one.
this is a quote from 64, so that's a...
Oh, so it was like fresh.
Yeah, so
It
that
was
is
fresh,
pretty
but
fresh.
maybe, I don't know, it could also be like the overdubbed 12 that I'm hearing in the solo. Maybe they had John in there, or
Yeah.
Paul was just misremembering. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or maybe he, like we said, John gave George the 325. George did it, but John just in his head. I mean, Paul in his head just seeing the 325. Thinking about it after the fact would just say it was John that did it.
I mean,
Yeah.
also, if he said this in 64, he could have easily said it before the album came out.
Yeah.
And, not
so.
remembered which version got used. So...
Yeah. And
It's
like
such
you
a-
said, takes 1, 2, and 3. Maybe he really did play the whole thing on it, but then
Uh-huh.
they just scrapped that definitely.
Yeah.
Such
Well,
a mysterious song.
My as of now, I'm thinking that every little thing is John on acoustic, George on the 12 string with maybe the 12 string overdub, like Sam said. I haven't tried it enough to actually like prove to myself that there's a second overdub playing the same thing, but that's probably there. And then obviously Paul on bass and Ringo on drums. Maybe George is using the 325-12, but I don't think he is. I think it's just some weird tone magic.
I'm gonna say about it. We should probably move on because technically we should cut this short and probably do another,
Yeah.
10 minutes or so. We should probably go until 10. It's just what Sam was saying. If you listen to that part of the solo, that's where I hear it the most, the overdub of the 12 string. You can hear one go a little bit quicker when they're doing that little step down thing. So that's when I feel like double.
What I heard mostly was that one's going, and the other one's going more staccato.
Okay,
so there's kind of like two sustaining things happening. But then there's the whole question of was that the Hoffner or the... Yeah, there's so many mysteries with this one.
It just sounds like you hear his bass and it just sounds thuddy throughout the song, and then that part though, like...
I mean, it's like the one time he used the bridge pickup.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he switched it down quick, did it, and then like, I don't know. It's
definitely an overdub, so, anything goes for that.
Yeah. Hey, it could have been the 12 string, because think about it, you're striking the top string anyways, so maybe he just got his finger in there enough just to mute that little octave string, and he was able just to go,
No way.
Maybe it was Ringo on guitar.
Hey, maybe. Ringo does play guitar on one Beatles song. You guys know what it is?
What is it?
I gotta remember now. Which one is it? It's
I Need You. He plays the back of the Gibson.
I
mean, it's not even really playing, but it's
he knows. And I will absolutely take credit for the first person to do that on YouTube.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep. I remember that.
So what other songs do we want to talk about with the 325?
That's about...
I mean, I think that's all the contested ones. I mean, I did see an article claiming that Ticket to Ride is John on the 325-12. Absolutely not. Like, there's no evidence for that. Every time they play it live, he just does the strumming A bit, and George plays the 12 string. So, like, no, there's no way.
And again, it would probably be only Beatles for Sale album that he would be using that 325 anyways, because it was new to him. Mm-hmm. They wanted to test it out, and I think it kind of proves our theory that he liked it, thought it was cool. Maybe it was kind of a bit unplayable.
Yeah.
But at the same time, isn't unplayable. Those 325s I have, again, I don't play them at all, but when I do play them, it takes me a few minutes to get into it, and then it's like playing a regular guitar again. It's easy to adjust to.
There aren't even that many songs it could be, because, by the time Help comes around, there's really not much. There's I Need You, which is obviously George. What else is on there that has a 12 string?
Do we know what happened to his 12 string?
I don't know.
Does Yoko still have that?
I think Yoko has it, yeah. It might be in the museum.
The Rock Hall, I believe, has John's 12 string. It was on display in New York for a while, for some like guitar show thing.
So he probably still had it throughout the Beatles. It wasn't like lost. Or
maybe it's on While My Guitar Gently Weeps.
Ryan, go to
never know.
Go to the last couple pages in the Beatles Gearbook.
Okay.
I don't know if you've...
Yeah, no. I imagine he retired it pretty quickly.
No.
It's kind of weird that he didn't get rid of it like some of his other stuff, though.
I'm trying to find this set of photos. John's
see if I can beat you to it.
This band.
Oh, that guy that's holding it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's holding it in his hand. Yeah. He's got a scarf on.
Yeah.
The Aerovons or whatever that band was.
Yeah.
Those lucky
guys.
It's
it's on page 477.
I'll have to get mine.
Yeah, and he still has it, and that's late too. That's what, like 69 or 70 he's holding that.
Yeah.
So it could have been on Abbey Road.
Who is this guy?
Okay. John probably
Who is
hated
this guy?
that thing. Yeah.
Yeah, he was in that band, the
Aerovons.
Huh. Never heard about it.
No one has.
What would you do if you got to go into the Abbey Road closet and see all these old pieces of gear?
What would I look
probably
would you
freeze up?
Have the guts to play on it?
No.
What would you do?
No.
Well, I mean, the closest example of that I can think of is the one video of Conan getting to see all of George's guitars.
He had to put it down, I think, right? He was like, I just can't.
Yeah.
This is rocky. No.
I have a buddy. I'm a little bit outside of Chicago. He works at a music store in Chicago that actually owns John's Martin, his D28 that he played in '75 for the salute to
something.
Lou Grade. You know what I'm
Grade.
talking about? His last live performance.
Wow.
And he was able to. He works there, so he was able to like play it. And he said, he's like, I just kind of stared at it. You know, what are you supposed to do?
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you have this piece of history in your hands, I mean, it's like, I'm gonna try to head up there and see if I can get my hands
Clearly,
on
the
it.
Erevons didn't take that.
I mean, the crazy
advice.
one is John's original J160, which showed
Yeah.
up at just some guy just realized he had it.
Yeah. So we're looking for George's second 360.
And then
Well, I think there has to be a story to that, though. Like, so where did that guy get that from?
Pawn shop, I think, didn't he?
So then who brought that? You know, like, there's more to that story that I think nobody seems to be telling, and I don't know why nobody's done further research into, you know, exactly what happened to that acoustic.
Right.
I think there's some people that are probably trying to cover it up, too, because, I mean, you know, you don't want to be held reliable or be the one that, you know, says, oh, I was the one that stole it.
One of the most
Yeah.
important acoustic guitars.
do we know who the guy is that stole George's Lucy?
Supposedly it was one of the Erevons, and he sold it to a pawn shop.
Yeah, then he went down to Mexico to get it or something like
No, that was his Les Paul. It was Lucy, in the '70s. Yeah.
No, that's what I was talking about.
Yeah,
but
George
you were
had
talking
to-
about the J160.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird.
So you guys hopefully should better keep an eye out for a 65 360 12 that shows up on
Oh, yeah.
Reverb or something.
What other ones are gone? Paul's bass,
The Cavern.
Cavern bass.
Tennessean is gone.
Tennessean.
Oh, what happened? When did the Tennessean disappear?
Was stolen.
Like mid 60, like Sergeant Pepper or something like that. Yeah. It's gone.
Was that Dom? Were you just talking about the 360-12, the original one?
No, the second one.
The second one, the like rounded edges
Yeah.
one?
Rounded.
Yeah.
Oh, that one's
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah, it was stolen.
Wasn't the first one? Wasn't the first one stolen too?
No.
What
No,
happened to
that
the first
Danny still has that.
one? Oh, okay.
He used it. George used it in the '80s.
I thought he got the second one because oh no, he just got it from a.
They
shop
gave
or
it to him. They gave
Yeah,
it to
that's
him.
right.
Yeah.
Huh. I wonder why he started using it.
Probably because it was better than his
Because it
first
was
one.
made- yeah. Interesting.
So it's like all this crazy stuff, and we got to go more into this.
Yeah,
We should
there's
have
a
a
lot
whole
of
episode
like
just
one-off
dedicated.
guitars we could talk about, like the
Yeah,
Guild
we
12
could.
string, which
Maton.
I assume they still have.
No, that's in Hawaii.
What?
Yo,
gotta
yeah,
give more
hanging up with
context.
The Guild is at the
Yeah.
Rock Hall or the Hard Rock
Oh, that's
in
cool.
Hawaii. It was actually given to Tony. Oh, what the heck? It's Yoko's ex-husband.
Why?
Yeah. I don't.
That's pretty weird.
So it's over there.
What about that weird Vox guitar?
Oh,
The
that's
one with
that
like
was-
the horns.
yeah. The oh jeez, what is it? I don't
That's
know
still
what it's
around,
called.
right? Because no one would
Yeah.
want to steal that piece of junk.
I don't know. I think it was. I mean,
I
they probably
stumped
took
him.
one look at it and was like, "What the hell is this?" If you stuck around this long, I'd like to personally congratulate you.
Yes.
Your attention span is unmatched.
Yeah,
Listen
so
to some of the best Beatles talk around.
maybe if there's some topics you're interested in this vein that you want to hear us talk about,
We should.
feel free to. We can maybe do like a poll type of thing, like come up with the top 5
yes.
and then let people pick.
Well, we should see. Down the line, we should also poll. Who would you want to see on the show?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We could
Yeah.
also poll, do you agree with us that
Yes.
George played the Rick
Yes.
12?
That's a great idea.
I'll make a spreadsheet where we can put our opinions on stuff and see what we
Yeah. Yeah.
have an agreement on. But yeah, so thanks for watching. Subscribe and like and all that. Follow whatever platform you're looking at this on. All that jazz. Yeah, so we'll probably be doing these bi-weekly for now. So check back again in 2 weeks or sooner if you want to see some shorts or something like that. I'm sure we'll stick little bits of these in there.
And of course, follow all of our pages as well.
Yeah.
Shameless
We'll
plug.
link all
Let's
those.
do it. Yeah.
So, but yeah, hopefully you enjoy this. Let us know how we can make it better or whatever, or make it worse if you want to sabotage us.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right. Well, thanks for watching. We will see you next time.
Peace, guys.
All right. See you.